Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everyone. It is a beautiful day here in New York City, and I'm always so looking forward to meeting with you every Friday. So, as you know, we had such an exciting week. We launched the Small Business PR podcast. Woo! And thanks to all of you, we were able to get not only reviews, people engaged, but we were able to help out so many founders who want to know how to get into a gift guide, how to beat imposter syndrome, how to pitch, how to get into a podcast. And I'm happy to say that within only 5 days, we had over 500 downloads and 94 ratings. And I will be sending out an email to the lucky winners of the giveaway. And what we're going to do is for every 50 reviews, I will be giving away a one-on-one session. So it's not like something that's going to stop. So the more people engage and the more we get this out to people, the more chances are for people to have an incentive to be a part of our community and get value and leave reviews so that we can always be doing more and be giving you exactly the content that you want. So why don't you tell me where you're calling in from, because I can't see your name. I just want to give everyone kind of a preview of the exciting podcast landing page that we have made. So this is a podcast landing page that my podcast agency made. When you go to gloriachow.com/podcast, you can rate, review. And I know for people who don't have Apple, you can always go on Google or Spotify or what have you, and they start to populate. So you have first 4 episodes to binge on. Thank you all who have listened. And we have next week, we have Dr. Greta Anderson on. She is so amazing. And I know she's going to inspire you. She is a pro golfer. She is an educator. She has her PhD in education. And she has just changed the game for what golf looks like, how it can be more diverse and inclusive, but also as a woman of color in golf. So that's going to be up here as well. But here you can see all of the episodes. And this one is the one that a lot of people really love, which is my conversation with Margaux Lushing. She writes for Forbes, Refinery29, Brit & Co, House Beautiful, and Brides. And she gave step-by-step tips on exactly what she wants to see in an episode. And if you actually go to the Apple podcast, you can rate and review it here, give it 5 stars. And this is here. So I will put in the link here and you can access all the episodes in here. So if you can rate and review, you still will be able to partake in the giveaway as well. So now, without further ado, I am going to share the actual podcast episode on video. And you're going to see exactly what she looks for in the gift guide. And depending on time, she might actually even pop in to this live. And don't forget, if you join the PR Starter Pack before November 1st, she will be on the live call for more than 60 minutes where you can pitch her live. You can pitch her anonymously. You can ask her any questions. This is your chance to get on a call with Margaux Lushing. And I cannot wait. This is the first time I had an actual sought after journalist on these calls to welcome new PR Starter Pack members. All you have to do is join us at www.prstarterpack.com. and you will be able to get on a live call with Margaux. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to share my screen and then we will be able to play the episode on video, which none of you have seen because you probably heard the audio portion of it. But I think so much is, there's so much good gems that she drops, and you can kind of see how Margaux is. You can meet her. She's really wonderful, and she writes for so many publications. So I'm going to share this here. And again, if you join us in the starter pack, you'll be able to actually meet her live on November 1st. So this is the video. It's going to play, and then hopefully she'll be able to join us for like a quick hello. And feel free to type in the comments as we do this episode if you have any Hey everyone, questions. I am so excited for this episode of the Small Business PR Podcast. Today I have someone that's super special, and she is going to talk all about gift guides and how to get into the most coveted thing, which is one of those best of lists. Do you ever wonder how to get on those? So that this episode, we're going to go in and we're going to ask all the questions about how to get into a gift guide. But first, I'd love to introduce our guest, Margaux Lushing. She is a freelance writer and travel startup founder who lives and breathes wellness and has written product roundup that includes gift guides and best of lists for all of the top tier outlets you've heard of: Forbes, Refinery, Well and Good, Brides, you name it. She's probably done it. So I'm so excited for her to share her expertise, and so we can get the scoop on what it really takes to get into a gift guide. Thank you so much, Margaux, for being here.
Thank you, Gloria.
So tell me a little bit more about your experience. Like, I see that you are a freelance writer. You've written about all of the different things. So can you introduce a little bit about kind of your writing and this kind of niche? Because I know that doing product roundups is a little bit different than maybe like a breaking news journalist, right?
Sure. Yes, very different than my journalism colleagues on the front lines of whatever their hard news beat is. I work on the wellness and lifestyle end of things. So hard news for me is a at-home cycling company raising some money or launching new pedals on their bike. That is more of the area that I am in.
And I will say that, you know, in all of the founders that I work with, mostly beauty, wellness, this is kind of the holy grail. It's like, how do I get my product into these lists, these product roundups? So, but before we get into that, I want to ask you, why is it so important to get into one? Why is it so coveted to be able to be in these product roundups without, you know, other than, let's say, paying for an ad?
Sure. It's a great question. And I think, to be super transparent, I don't have the ultimate answer. I think founders and people who look at their traffic and look at their business performance and look at how things are, say, selling over the holidays, over Valentine's Day, over Mother's Day, how things are doing and where that traffic is coming from, I think they can probably tell you better than me. All I can tell you is that I get a lot of inbound emails telling me why I should put insert product here into whichever upcoming gift guide I have.
Right. And this is obviously more credible than buying an ad because you are a credible, legitimate writer. So, I mean, just from a credibility point of view, I think it definitely checks all the boxes.
Sure. I mean, I think we've all read ads where we roll our eyes, right? I think anyone, I think there's data all over the place about this generation, millennial generation and younger, maybe even Gen X, who we don't really take ads seriously. I think it's why a lot of advertising agencies have honestly changed the way their businesses operate, because people don't respond to campaigns the way that they used to. And that third party earned, not paid for endorsement, I think goes a lot further across a lot of mediums, be that traditional journalism, newspapers, magazines, digital, and even influencers now.
Amen. That's what I'm all about here at Gloria Chow PR. So tell me a little bit more about like gift guides versus like regular news or podcasts or something like that. Obviously, like it's different because it's kind of more of a list form, but is there anything founders should know about like pitching or the timeline or even from your point of view?
Sure. I think it's a great question. And honestly, we could probably spend a whole hour just covering this specific question. There's many ways I can answer this. I think, in short, if we're thinking about the process and how, there's a founder at their inbox thinking, oh, shoot, we're launching this thing in 6 weeks. Okay, I've seen this writer on, we'll use Forbes as an example, just because it's in my head all the time. How do I get in touch with them? How do I try to pitch them for their upcoming best of guide, gift guide? I think one, timing is really important. I think being able to give someone enough time, I think saying, oh, this launched 3 days ago is not going to help me very much. I think also just making sure that it fits with what that reporter is writing about. I think taking the time to put together an email that is concise and respectful of time, and also just really just being to the point is a huge help.
Yeah. So would you say that if you're pitching to like a gift guide or product guide versus, someone who doesn't cover and covers more general news interest, tell me more about the timeline. Should you be like, let's say it's December, 25th is Christmas. Like, when do the gift guides come out? And then when should people pitch before it actually gets published and selected?
Sure. And I think I can go back to your other question and sort of combine these a little bit. If you have major news coming out, right? If you're launching a company, if you're raising money and you want to announce that, but it's not enough money where you have a team of 45 publicists helping you, it's still just you or you and a couple of colleagues. I think when it's a feature, when you're launching, when it's hard news, I think 2 weeks is great. I think different writers have different preference, but I think at least 2 weeks. We have this coming up. We think that you'd be a great fit. We really like your column. I read this story. And if it's just news that is maybe more product focused, you're launching a product or a product has just been performing really well. Maybe it's not a new product, but it's a product that's been out for 3 years. But all of a sudden, within the last 3 weeks, sales have gone up about 1,200%. That's interesting news too. And if it is within wellness, I'm curious to know about it. When it comes to, on the other hand, gift guides, Gloria, it's so all over the map. I swear I start getting end of year holiday gift guide pitches in probably May. I mean, really, really early. Not a lot, but I have there are some eager beavers who will email me in May saying, this is I haven't even done Father's Day gift guides yet, and I'm getting pitched end of year. So I don't know what the answer is. I think it's also really important to just say that I am one person. I am one freelancer. I write these for some specific outlets. Every outlet is different. Every writer is different. I think pitching staff gift guides versus freelancers is also different. So that is my preface to my timeline answer. But I think for me, between 4 to 6 weeks out from a given holiday, maybe 4 to 8 weeks out from a given holiday, for me is a sweet spot. I think that always differs. And that's why I think if you're, as a founder, you're thinking you're going to reach out to some writers to ask about this, I think it's totally fine to be a little bit more casual. Hey, I wanted to pitch this for holiday. I don't know if you're working on that yet, or if you're working on any other roundups or any other stories for which this might fit, but this is my product. And maybe it is too early for gift guides, which I don't know, I tend to work a little more last minute, so it probably is a little early for me, but I may be coincidentally working on a story for which that product might fit perfectly. That is maybe a best of list about something else or a different kind of story that could fit. And sometimes it happens, I think, more frequently than you would imagine, that a pitch aligns with a story I'm already working on that is outside of a traditional gift guide.
And this is something I always say too, is don't be afraid to put your name in the hat, because you're going to be tasked with something and then you're going to go back to your inbox, whether it be 1 month or 3 months, and you might do a quick search. Is that right?
Always. I'm always going in my inbox. I'm always like, why did I open that email when I was just waking up really early in the morning? Someone sent it from the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. I looked at it with one eye and I thought, ooh, I need to go back to this. This is a good fit. I don't hear from them again. There's just that one email. I forget about it. And then 3 months later, I'm working on something else. Oh yeah, what was that? And I just go into my email and try as best as I can to find that. So yes, I do go back in time often.
I'm so glad you said it, because for so many small business entrepreneurs who cannot afford an agency, they don't have the PR experience or kind of the experience to be like, I'm going to just keep pitching all day, every day, right? It's not their natural thing to do. So even sending that one email can be super scary. But you're saying that you really should pitch and pitch often, as long as you're not being super demanding about it. You should follow up. I mean, do you think most of your stories that you actually write about happen to be people who happen to follow up with you more and just remind you like, hey, we're here?
That's a great question. I honestly, it might just depend on my bandwidth. maybe sometimes I see something and I mean to get back to it and I don't because I'm really busy. And sometimes it's that follow-up that reminds me, oh, shoot, that is really great. That is a perfect fit. Other times I am actively working on something comes into my inbox, and within 2 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your perfect timing and perfect product. Yeah. This is very helpful.
So pitch early, pitch often. You never know when you're going to go back into your inbox. So good. I'm glad that we're aligned there. So now let's actually get into like the actionable steps, right? So let's say I am a clean beauty founder, or, I made some like yoga mat spray, let's say, right? Because you're in wellness. I have no idea how to even pitch an editor. I've never sent an email to an editor. I don't know any editors. I don't know any writers. I don't know how to find them. What are the steps that I should take to even start this journey of being considered to be on a gift guide?
Sure. I think a way of looking at it for founders perhaps might be, it just takes time. There really is no shortcut, think being specific and seasonal, I think, can help. I guess there's more risk, sure, because chances are that it's not going to be the exact right thing. But that right thing might come up in the future. But if it is the right thing and things align, then it makes it so much easier to just say yes. And I can probably pull a lot of information directly from that first email. One email is never enough. I mean, it's going to take some back and forth. But I think that's worth the risk, because you're never going to be everything to everybody. It's not going to be the perfect gift for every single person in your life and every single gift guide and every single media outlet. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. One thing you also mentioned earlier is like, don't be salesy. Don't send me like a mass email that is 15% off to my readers. But first of all, we never see that in like a Forbes or Refinery anyways. So what do you have to say about like the tone of it? Like, what is the type of writing that makes it sound like they're demanding or dictating? And what like, I feel like it's kind of a balance, right? Because they are obviously talking about themselves and the product. So how can you strike a balance between being direct about, I want this to be featured, and then not dictating or demanding?
Sure. I think it's the answer is really to just be a person. Like, I understand. I interview founders a lot. I work with a lot of founders. I email with a lot of founders. It's hard. You are stressed. You are deeply passionate about your product. I know they're talking to different types of audiences all the time. I would say it's somewhere in between talking to a new hire, an investor over a cup of coffee, and talking to their mom. You know what I mean? Like, be a person, be direct. It's probably not the first time I've heard this story. No matter what it is. I mean, I'm sure there's someone, listening now or a client of yours who really does have the most unique story, but it's rare that I get that. And if it's a roundup, it's not really about the story. It's really about the product. It doesn't really matter how it got there. So yeah, just be human. And this can even, I really don't think I'm sure there is a limit to how vulnerable you should be in an email, but even if it's like, hey, I read your Mother's Day stories. I read your Father's Day stories. I saw that you covered sexiest sustainable gifts for Valentine's Day. I just launched a new, I don't know what it is, a vegan sustainable purse line. And I think it would be perfect if you're working on any where the signature just says your name and it's your first name at your company, and it's, I sort of have an idea that you're a founder, or I can look it up and I'm like, oh man, this is so great that it's a founder who's like just pitching me just fine, and they're not making they're just going for it. And they're doing a lot. I always have a lot of respect for that.
Oh, thank you for saying that, because that's what we're here to do is encourage people and to say, we don't have anything against agencies, but for my community of small business owners, it's just not feasible, right? So what do you have to say about kind of learning how to pitch and doing this themselves? Because so many founders, their biggest roadblock is, I know I'm doing something great, but I can't afford an agency. So I guess I just don't do PR. I guess I just will never get featured until I can hire an agency. And I don't think that's right. I think there's gotta be a way for them to still get featured.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure there are some sensitive industries, right, where when there's legal liability or there's FDA liability, where it really is difficult to be able to tell that story. And if it's healthcare or medicine, I understand sensitivity. If it's a new water bottle then there's nothing to be sensitive about. And just assume you're going to hear back from like 2% of the people that you're emailing. And if you hear back from more, be really delighted about it. But I don't think that anyone needs to wait to hire that agency, you know, until they have enough funding to be able to do that. I also think that if you can find the bandwidth to spend some time on PR, I think you'll end up learning so much about how everything works. And when the time does come to be able to hire that agency, you'll know so much more. And you'll be better at that RFP. You'll be a better PR agency manager, or you'll be able to better help your marketing team or PR team manage that agency. I think the other part of this is I think a lot of founders, they go into it knowing I'm going to have to spend a lot of time learning how to do e-commerce. I know I have to spend a lot of time knowing how to hire. I need to understand how basic AdWords works, right? But I don't think they feel the same way about PR. They think they can put it off or have someone junior do it, or they don't know and so they give up. I think take a weekend, put that list together, send some emails, and you'll learn. If nothing else, you'll learn. Yeah. I think the other side of it is not taking the time and just sending something out to a list and hoping isn't going to help. And I think the other thing that's really tricky that I have seen a lot in the past is people who have a limited budget and they say, oh, well, you know, this $5,000 I have a month for my entire marketing budget will only get me this much in terms of marketing or pay-per-click, but I can actually get this agency. It is about the readers. And I do think the other thing that you made me think of is I also am not new to wellness. So if someone's working on a wellness product and maybe they came from a completely different industry and they've been working in wellness for 18 months and I've been doing this for years and years, I also don't need at the beginning of an email a whole primer on why wellness matters now. I do know why wellness matters now.
Yep. And you got to be more specific than that, right? And we keep coming back to specificity, and you got to differentiate your product or it wouldn't get written up, right? So like you always say, founders have this kind of narcissist syndrome where like we feel like what we're doing is the best, right? So for example, like if someone says, oh, this is like the cleanest supplement or whatever, like how can we kind of chip away at that and make it more specific in a way that the editor would be like, okay, this is not just some fluffy word.
Yeah, this is hard because there are friends I have who are founders or friends who are trying to help a founder friend, and they're forwarding me an email saying, can you do anything with this? And the email does say, this is the best, this is the cleanest. And I sometimes in my weaker moments, I suppose, I'll say, okay, but what makes it the cleanest? What data do you have to back that up? What makes it the best? What awards or data do you have to back it up? And it's sometimes it's not going to be putting your best foot forward if that's what you're leading with, because that's like it takes up too much time. And there's other people who just are better. They get to the point and they tell me, oh, it's 47% of this pure grade this, and it's 37% of this, and this hasn't been done before. And this is the first time it's for sale in California, the first time it's for sale in the US. And I can get boom, 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 those bullets out front. And I don't need to do as much digging. So I think at this point, I've become a little, it's just hard. I know where someone's coming from when they want to say that, and maybe it does work with some audiences, and maybe it works on social, but I think specificity is really important.
Yeah. And it shows that you've done the work too, right? If I'm pitching you something that's cleanest supplement, if I say this is the cleanest supplement, it's kind of much lazier approach than saying this is zero sugar made with superfood from Patagonia, things like that. So,
Yes, it's that. And also because I get so many emails in my inbox, there are plenty of businesses who pitch me, this is the cleanest supplement. And in reality, it's the dirtiest supplement. But because they don't show me any data, they think I'm not going to know the difference. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of claims that are not true because they sort of play with the language in a way. And it just, there may very well be one of those emails, this is the cleanest, and it actually is, but I'm not going to notice because press kit is extremely important to have on hand. I don't think it's extremely important to have on your website. I think the most important thing to have on the press section of your website is an email. Maybe that's the founder's email. Maybe that's a trusted colleague. Maybe it's you, Gloria. I don't know who that person is, but I think at least when I'm going to a website and I'm looking for more information on a product, all I want to see on the press page is someone's name. I rarely find what I need in the media kit on a website. That said, having a press kit, which to me just means a Google folder where you have images of a variety of sizes, a variety of lifestyle and product shots and orientations. I mean, I always like to use horizontal, not vertical, for web. Having a press release on the launch of something is really, really important. Sometimes I do get pitches without a press release, and it just is so much harder to find the information because there isn't a location where everything I need is there, and then I can ask follow-up questions.
Yeah.
I also think in a press kit, having a bio, like a real bio with real detailed information about the founders, about the team. Who's the co-founder? Who's this? Sometimes I feel like these titles are so confusing and co-founders are confusing, and this is a co-founder, but CMO and their CEO is actually, sometimes it gets very confusing. So just being very clear about that. And a company backgrounder is really helpful to have too. Sometimes it's not always clear. Oh, this company came from this other company. It's a spinoff, or it's under this umbrella, or this is the company, but this is only their first product. And this first product is launched under this other company name. Just being able to have that in one place where I can, in 2 minutes, get the total lay of the land is really helpful.
Yeah, but don't attach it into email unless you ask for it, right? It's kind of the second step once you're interested.
No, thank you. And it really doesn't ever have to be an attachment. It can just be a link to a Google Drive.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Okay, so many things. Last time we talked, you also said something. So obviously, don't send the coupon code. What about another pet peeve you have when people are like, "Oh, like share this with your followers"? So should we be careful about saying followers versus readers?
Yeah, I think it's just really important to remember the distinction between influencers and journalists.
Thank you.
And our jobs are very different. Our audiences are very different. My job isn't to take pictures of something and and pretend I'm using it in my life. And when I pick it up from a pile of 20 other things that I'm doing the same thing with, I mean, I know there's wonderful influence. Affiliate networks.
Yeah.
I can't do anything with it.
Right.
And absolutely, if someone's like, oh, we'd appreciate it if you would share this with your followers. It just makes me think that influencers are their priority. So they write the email for the influencer and then they copy and paste it and they figure, oh, we have 10 more minutes. Let's just blast it out to a bunch of reporters as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely so different. And I think as social media becomes what it is, it's hard to get that, that line straight. But I think that's like the number one thing you need to do is like journalism is not dead and there's legitimate journalism. And then there's like the bloggers who might be taking a commission or they might want some free merchandise. So that's, we definitely talked about that. And that brings me to my last question is people are like, okay, for gift guides, do I send samples? Do I not send samples? What if I don't have money to send samples?
I think it can be very helpful, especially if you don't have someone who's put together, if you're not really confident that you can put together the best written information, I think it can be really helpful and helpful for a gift guide, sure. But sometimes, there's something that either I've purchased myself in real life or have gotten temporarily as a sample and it's worked for a gift guide, but then it's proven to be useful for a future story, or it's something that I maybe used for a gift guide and I kept using it after, and it ended up turning into a feature because it was something that I found so indispensable, or it'll find its way into other stories. This has happened numerous times where there's something that someone pitched me for a gift guide or a sample was shared for some previous story and I ended up using it for a number of other outlets down the road. That happens very frequently. So I think it can be helpful. I think it also can be helpful if the only information you have on a particular product is like one line on the product page on a website. That said, of course, if bandwidth is limited, if logistics are challenging, if you're in another country, it's absolutely not a requirement. I think sometimes it can be helpful, especially if it's a more complicated product, or if some, a lot of founders and PR people will say to me, you know what, it sounds okay. It doesn't sound so spectacular, but please try it. Like, you need to try it and you'll see. And oftentimes they're right. And it really is so special. And I wouldn't have known if they just told me this is the cleanest supplement ever.
Yeah, 100%. So try to give the experience if it's not feasible for you to send like a home gym, for example,
Sure. Yeah. And we did talk about this earlier, which is
I always tell my founders to not be afraid to reach out and follow up on social media. If they have a really good pitch that's value driven, how do you feel about reaching out, not only on email, but also like on LinkedIn, for example?
Okay. When you first mentioned that you recommend to clients that they reach out on LinkedIn, I was like, wow, I don't know of any other PR people who are telling their clients to do this, because LinkedIn, I think, is one of maybe the only area that I really just exclusively use for work. I don't really use it that often at all. So when somebody messages me on LinkedIn, I mean, when it's not a spam thing, I think it's so compelling. And whenever, I think I can say confidently, whenever it's been a wellness or travel or design, like somewhere within my area that I cover, whenever it's been a founder who's reached out to me directly on LinkedIn, I think I've always ended up having a conversation with them, because it just does not happen very frequently. And it's been a combination of just reaching out cold on there or following up because they're like, hey, I'm sure your inbox is crazy. I just wanted to, share some info about this is, what we do over here at this company.
Boom. There you go. That's how you do it, founders. Thank you so much, Margaux. How can people find you, and tell me a little bit more about your travel startup, how they can give you some visibility, show you some love? Let us know.
Thanks, Gloria. Yeah, so you can see my my work for Forbes. You can look my name up in Forbes there. I have also started, I write for a number of other publications, including Brides, and I've started writing first-person design essays for House Beautiful, which has been very fun and very different for me. My work with Well Away, where I work with hotels to make healthy hotel rooms, is a whole nother subject where I just try to help hotels help their guests be as healthy as possible. And anyone can email me about that stuff too. But thank you so much. This is so fun. I hope this was helpful.
Thank you so much, Margaux. And for everyone that's listening, you spell your name Margaux.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But don't feel too badly if you get it wrong. If you try to pitch me, it happens every day.
Oh, thank you so much for your generosity. And thank you for being on the show. And I look forward to seeing what you build with Well Away. And also, I'm going to be looking out for the products you pick for this year's gift guide. Let's see who makes a cut.
Thank you very much. Thank you.